People called her Barren.
They mocked her behind her back, insulted her to her face, and treated her like she was cursed.
Yet she never fought back.
She smiled, worked hard, and carried a secret pain only God knew. But one day, one shocking event revealed a truth so unbelievable that the same people who once humiliated her were left speechless and trembling. This was the day her destiny changed forever. The early morning sun stretched over the small village of Shadapur, spilling its warm light across the fields and narrow dusty roads. Birds chirped in the neem trees, and the sound of a distant hand pump echoed through the air. Life in the village always began early. Farmers leaving for the fields, women sweeping their courtyards, shopkeepers opening their shutters with a loud metallic clang. Amara stepped outside her small brick house, carrying a bucket and a clay pot. She tied her dupatta tightly around her shoulders and walked toward the hand pump. Her steps were gentle, almost silent, as though she moved carefully to avoid disturbing the peace of the village.
But peace was something she rarely received.
"Look there," a woman's voice cut through the air.
"Amara is out again."
As if pumping water will fill her empty womb. A small group of women, gathered by the large peepal tree, burst into laughter. Amara froze for just a second, then continued walking as though she didn't hear. "She works like a donkey," another woman scoffed.
"But still no child.
God must really be punishing her." Their words stung, sharp, cruel, unnecessary. Yet Amara didn't turn around.
She had learned long ago that silence was her strongest shield. Fighting back only gave them more power.
Ignoring them was the only way she could protect her heart. When she reached the hand pump, she placed her clay pot beneath the spout and began pumping the handle. Water splashed rhythmically, and she took slow breaths, grounding herself. Behind her, the gossiping voices continued. "If I were her husband, I would have married again by now," one woman said. "What good is a wife who can't give children?" The words hit her like stones. Still, her hands didn't stop moving. "Good morning, Amara," an older voice called softly. Amara turned and saw Bibi Noor, the elderly widow who lived 2 houses away. Her eyes were kind, her smile gentle. "Good morning, Bibi." Bibi Noor stepped closer.
"Don't listen to them.
Their tongues are sharp because their hearts are hollow." Amara smiled weakly.
"I'm used to it."
"You shouldn't have to be."
Bibi Noor touched her arm.
"Some wounds shouldn't be ignored." Amara lowered her gaze. "Some wounds I can only leave to God." The old woman nodded, understanding. When the pots were filled, Amara lifted them carefully and walked home. Inside, the house smelled faintly of spices, turmeric, cumin, coriander. Her husband, Farid, sat cross-legged on the floor, tying his shoes for work.
"You're up early," he said with a warm smile.
"Again?"
"There was a lot to do," she replied.
She didn't mention the insults. Farid worried enough already.
He stood up and brushed the dust off his kurta.
He was a quiet man, gentle and hardworking, the kind who rarely raised his voice. People often wondered how someone like him ended up with a barren wife, and they didn't hesitate to remind him of their opinions. Farid ignored them just as she did, most of the time.
"Breakfast is ready," Amara said.
"I made parathas." "You didn't need to wake up so early every day," he said, sitting at the low table. "I can help."
"It's fine," she insisted.
"I like taking care of things." He watched her for a moment, his eyes softening. "You take care of everything, except yourself."
She forced a small smile.
"I'm okay."
But she wasn't. Not always.
She still remembered the nights she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why her body refused to give her what her heart desired most. She remembered the tears she cried quietly so Farid wouldn't hear. She remembered every visit to doctors, every hopeful herbal remedy, every prayer whispered into the darkness. Farid reached for her hand. "Amara, we are enough, even if it's just the 2 of us."
She squeezed his hand back. "I know." But deep inside, she wondered if he missed the laughter of children.
If he longed for a son to teach farming, or a daughter to carry on her gentle manners. She wondered if one day he would change, If the pressure, the whispers, the taunts would become too much. After breakfast, Farid left for work, and Amara began her daily routine. She cleaned the house, swept the yard, washed clothes, and prepared meals, not just for herself and Farid but sometimes for neighbors who borrowed her help without appreciation. Around noon, she went to the market to buy vegetables. As she walked through the narrow street, she heard footsteps behind her and knew trouble was coming even before she turned. It was her sister-in-law, Syra, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue. "Amara," she said loudly, waving her hand in exaggerated surprise. "Buying vegetables again? You should take it easy. After all, you have no children to feed." Several women turned their heads, grinning. Amara forced a polite smile. "Syra, good afternoon." Syra walked closer, her lips curling mischievously. "Honestly, Barbie, you should give up on trying.
10 years of marriage and still nothing? Nature is shouting at you." A few people tittered behind their hands.
Amara inhaled slowly. "God's plans are beyond what we understand." "Oh please," Syra rolled her eyes. "God helps those who can be helped."
Amara swallowed the ache in her chest.
"Excuse me, I have to go." She turned to leave, but Syra shouted loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Just adopt a child if you can't make one.
Or let Farid marry again. It will solve everything." Laughter exploded around them. Amara's footsteps faltered.
The pain was sharp, a burning that reached all the way to her throat. She blinked rapidly, forcing the tears back.
She refused to let them see her cry.
By the time she got home, her hands were trembling. She set the vegetables on the counter and pressed her palms against her eyes. But no matter how tightly she pressed, a few hot tears escaped.
Why was the world so cruel?
Why was her worth as a woman reduced to her ability to bear a child? Why was her life constantly measured by something she had no control over? She cried for a few minutes, silently, then wiped her face.
She wouldn't let Farid see her like this. She needed to stay strong. For him. For herself.
Later that evening, as she prepared dinner,
someone knocked on the door.
Amara opened it and was surprised to see the village elder, Haji Saab, standing there with a stern expression.
"Assalamu alaikum, daughter," he said. "Wa alaikum assalam," she replied.
"Please come in." He stepped inside, adjusting his turban. "Farid is not home yet." "No, he'll return soon."
"Good.
I wanted to speak to him about something important."
Amara felt a flicker of worry.
"Is everything okay?"
Haji Saab hesitated.
"Some villagers, they are pushing for a meeting. They say the village should convince Farid to remarry."
Amara's breath caught. Her heart dropped to her stomach.
Her fingers curled around the edge of her dupatta.
"No," she whispered. "No, they can't."
"I don't support it," the elder said firmly. "But the pressure is increasing. People talk too much."
Her knees felt weak.
Before she could respond, Farid walked in. "What's happening?" he asked, his eyes shifting between them.
Haji Saab explained everything.
Farid's face darkened with anger. Real anger, something rare for him. "Who are they to decide about my marriage?" he demanded. "Who gave them the right to interfere in our home?"
Haji Saab held his hands up. "I told them the same. But you know how villagers are.
They enjoy poking their noses where they don't belong." Farid walked to Amara and took her hand in front of the elder.
"I will not remarry. Not today. Not ever. They can talk all they want."
Tears welled in Amara's eyes again, but this time for a different reason.
Haji Saab nodded.
"I will try to calm the village.
But be prepared.
People won't stop." After he left, Farid cupped Amara's face in his hands.
"Listen to me," he said softly.
"Don't ever think you are less.
Don't ever believe their words. You are my wife. My only wife.
And that will never change." She leaned against him, finally letting her tears fall. "But Farid, I'm tired."
"I'm so tired." He wrapped his arms around her. "I know.
But we'll face it together." She held on to him tightly, trembling from all the pain she kept buried. That night, as she lay beside him, staring at the ceiling again, she whispered a desperate prayer. God, if there is any justice in this world, show it to me.
Please. Show them all. She had no idea
that her prayer was about to be answered in a way she never imagined.
Something extraordinary was about to happen. Something that would silence every mocking voice.
And change her fate forever. The next morning began like any other, quiet, slow, and heavy with the weight of unspoken sorrows. But beneath the ordinary routine, something unsettling stirred in the air.
Amara felt it even before she opened her eyes.
A strange tension settled in her chest, as if the world around her was shifting in ways she couldn't yet understand. She sat up slowly, her fingers brushing across the blanket, and she listened. Usually, she heard the familiar clatter of Farid preparing for work or the soft hum of the morning breeze filtering through the cracked window. But today, the house was silent. Too silent. She stood, wrapped her shawl around her shoulders, and walked toward the kitchen. To her surprise, she found Farid sitting at the small wooden table, staring into space with a troubled face.
Farid, she asked gently.
Why are you still home? You'll be late for the fields.
He looked up, and she immediately sensed something was wrong.
They came again, he said, his voice tight with frustration.
Before sunrise. A group of men from the village. They were waiting outside. Her heart sank. What did they say? That the meeting is tonight, he replied. They want to raise the issue publicly.
They want to vote. As if our marriage is some village entertainment. Amara felt coldness seep into her bones.
A vote?
About us.
Farid clenched his jaw. About you. Her breath shuddered.
Farid.
He stood and placed both hands on her shoulders.
I told them I wouldn't agree.
I told them their meeting means nothing.
But Amara, you know how they are. Once gossip starts, it spreads like fire.
She lowered her gaze to the floor.
Why do they hate me so much?
They don't hate you, he said firmly. They are just cruel. And small-minded.
And they blame the wrong person. A long silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Maybe I should go somewhere else for the night, she whispered. If the meeting is about me. No, he interrupted quickly, his voice thick with emotion.
You are not running.
You have done nothing wrong. Why should you hide? Amara swallowed, unsure if she believed her own strength could last another day of humiliation.
Farid cupped her face again.
I will not attend their meeting. And I will not listen to a single word they say. She nodded, though fear still coiled in her stomach like a living thing. Later that afternoon, Amara went to visit Bibi Noor, hoping her company would ease her mind. The old woman sat outside her home, shelling peas into a metal bowl. You look exhausted, child, Bibi Noor said immediately, her wise eyes softening.
Sit. Tell me. Amara sat beside her and sighed.
They want a village meeting tonight. I heard, the old woman nodded. Troublemakers. I don't know how much more I can endure, Amara admitted softly. Everywhere I go, every step I take, someone whispers behind me. Some days I feel like the whole village is pointing at me, blaming me, mocking me. Bibi Noor dropped a pea into the bowl and placed her wrinkled hand over Amara's.
Let me tell you something. People mock what they do not understand. They laugh to hide their own emptiness. A woman's worth is not in her womb. It is in her character.
You have more grace in your little finger than those noisy hens have in their whole lives. Amara's lips curved into a small smile.
Thank you, Bibi, she whispered.
Listen to me, child, the old woman said, leaning closer. Life does not stay the same forever. Storms come, but so does rain. Hardship tests you, but it also prepares you.
Amara had no idea how true those words were.
As evening approached, the sky darkened earlier than usual. Gray clouds rolled in from the horizon, heavy with the promise of rain. The air thickened, carrying the slight smell of wet earth. Inside their home, Amara paced nervously while Farid sat near the window, arms crossed. Shouts and loud conversations carried from the village center, voices growing louder as more people gathered for the meeting.
"They are starting," Amara whispered.
Farid didn't turn away from the window.
"They can scream all they want.
They'll get nothing from me."
Thunder rumbled in the distance.
Suddenly, a loud knock shook the front door.
Boom, boom, boom.
Amara flinched.
Farid stood immediately. "Stay behind me," he said.
He opened the door to find Syra standing there, drenched in rain that had just begun to fall. Her hair stuck to her forehead, and her face was flushed with anger.
"Farid, come quickly," she shouted. "The elders are asking for you. They say if you don't come, they will decide without you." Farid's expression hardened. "Let them. I'm not going."
Syra stepped forward aggressively.
"This is not only about you.
This affects the family name.
People are calling Amara cursed.
They are saying she's holding you back from your rightful happiness."
Amara stepped beside Farid before she realized what she was doing.
"I'm not cursed," she said firmly, surprising even herself.
Syra scoffed. "Then why 10 years of marriage and no child? Why misery? Why shame?" Farid pointed at Syra.
"Enough. You will not speak to her like that."
But Syra wasn't listening. She pushed past him and jabbed a finger toward Amara. "You don't belong in this family anymore. Everyone knows it.
The whole village is ready to declare that Farid should take a second wife."
"And do you know something?"
"I agree." Amara felt something inside her crack, but it didn't break.
Instead, a strange calm settled over her.
A quiet voice in her heart whispered, "Your time is coming.
Hold on."
Lightning split the sky, illuminating the village for a brief second.
Farid grabbed Syra's arm. "Get out of my house."
Syra jerked her arm free, glared at both of them, and stormed out into the rain. After she left, Amara trembled, not from fear, but from a strange feeling she couldn't name.
"Farid," she whispered.
"Let's leave the village."
He stared at her.
"What?" "Let's go somewhere else," she said, tears filling her eyes.
"I can't live here anymore. Not like this.
Not with people trying to tear us apart." Farid hesitated, torn between anger and helplessness. "Amara, our home, our work, our parents' land, everything is here."
"But what about our peace?" she whispered.
"What about our dignity?"
Farid closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly.
"If leaving is what you want, I will do it." Amara felt her breath catch in her throat. "Really?"
"Yes," he said. "But not tonight. It's raining heavily."
"We'll decide in the morning." Thunder boomed again, and the rain intensified, pounding against the roof. Amara sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the roar of the storm. She felt overwhelmed, lost between fear and a flicker of fragile hope.
She didn't know what destiny had in store. She just knew something was coming.
Her heartbeat throbbed in her ears.
She felt dizzy. Her hands shook. Then suddenly, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. She gasped and held her stomach. Farid rushed toward her.
"Amara? What's wrong?" I don't know," she whispered, her voice trembling. It hurts so much." He knelt beside her, panic spreading across his face.
"Where?
What kind of pain?"
She clutched her stomach tighter.
"Here, inside. It feels like something is twisting."
Farid paled.
"Should I call the midwife?
Or take you to the town hospital?"
"I don't know," she breathed heavily. "It feels different, not like before." The pain intensified suddenly, like a wave crashing over her. She winced, her nails digging into her palms.
Farid held her shoulders.
"Amara, talk to me." She shook her head, unable to speak as another wave struck. Then, as quickly as it came,
it stopped. Her body relaxed instantly. Her breathing steadied.
Farid stared at her, breathless. "Are you all right? Should I go get someone?" She blinked, and something strange washed over her. A warm sensation, deep, comforting, almost glowing, spread through her abdomen.
I feel fine now, she whispered.
Farid looked confused and scared. Amara touched her stomach again, expecting the pain to return.
But instead, she felt something she had never felt in 10 long years. A flutter, a tiny movement, soft,
delicate,
almost unreal.
Her heart slammed against her ribs.
Farid, she gasped.
Farid, something moved.
He froze.
What?
Amara's breathing hitched.
Something moved inside me.
Farid's eyes widened.
Amara, are you saying? She pressed both hands against her stomach, tears flooding her eyes.
I don't know,
but Farid, I felt something. I swear I felt something.
He stared at her in disbelief.
Then suddenly, he dropped to his knees and placed his ear against her abdomen.
The rain hammered outside. The wind roared.
But in the middle of that storm, something miraculous whispered into the night. Farid jerked back, eyes trembling, lips parted in shock.
Amara, he whispered hoarsely.
There is movement. Her chest tightened. Are you sure? He nodded slowly, tears filling his eyes.
I felt it.
I swear I felt it.
A choked sob escaped her lips. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't dreaming. Something impossible was happening.
Something the whole village swore could never happen.
Farid grabbed her hands. We need to go to the doctor tomorrow.
First thing in the morning. Amara nodded, unable to speak through her tears. The storm raged outside, but inside their small home, a spark of hope flickered like a candle refusing to die. Neither of them slept that night. Amara lay awake, staring at the roof, her hands on her stomach, afraid to move, afraid to breathe, afraid the miracle might fade away like a dream. Farid stayed beside her, silent, protective, his hand resting over hers as if guarding the fragile new hope growing beneath.
Hours passed.
The rain stopped.
The village fell quiet. But Amara's heart didn't calm.
Because deep inside her, something shifted again.
And again. And again. Tiny, gentle. Alive. She wasn't barren. She wasn't cursed. She wasn't broken. Something was inside her. Something real. Something impossible.
Something that would change everything. The sun rose slowly the next morning, spreading a pale golden light over the damp village. The air smelled of fresh rain, the kind that washed away dust and left everything looking new. But inside Amara and Farid's small home, the world had already changed long before the sun appeared. Amara hadn't slept a single minute. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt a flutter, a tiny shift, a delicate movement inside her that sent a rush of warmth through her entire body. She lay awake, both terrified and hopeful, afraid that if she drifted off, she might wake up to find it all had been a mistake. Farid stayed beside her, his eyes heavy, but his expression bright with an emotion she hadn't seen on his face in years, pure wonder. When the first ray of sunlight touched their room, Amara finally whispered, "Farid, what if something is really happening?"
He squeezed her hand gently. Then we will face it.
Together. But beneath his calm tone, she sensed his fear, the fear that hope might break them if it turned out to be false.
The village outside was unusually quiet.
Normally, mornings were filled with chatter, clanging,
children running barefoot in the streets.
But today, the silence felt heavy, like everyone was still thinking about last night's storm, and the meeting that ended in nothing.
Because Farid never showed up.
And because rumors were already spreading. Amara sat up, pressing her hand lightly against her stomach.
We should go early, she said softly. Farid nodded.
I'll get the motorcycle ready. He stepped outside, and Amara changed into her cleanest shalwar kameez, a soft blue one with flowers embroidered along the sleeves. Her hands trembled slightly as she tied her dupatta around her head. She kept touching her stomach every few seconds, as if afraid the movement might stop the moment she wasn't paying attention. When Farid returned, he placed his hand on her back gently. Ready? She took a shaky breath. Ready. They stepped outside, and the moment their feet hit the street, whispers began. Doors slid open slightly. Curtains shifted. Eyes peeked from corners.
Everyone was listening. Everyone was watching. Because everyone knew about the meeting last night.
And everyone wanted to know what Farid was going to do about his barren wife. Amara lowered her gaze, trying hard not to let the tension crush her. She focused on her breathing, on her heartbeat, on the faint flutter inside her. As they walked toward the motorcycle, a familiar voice cut through the morning air. Well, look who finally came out. Syra stepped forward, blocking their path. Her hands were on her hips, and her face was smug, as if she had already won a battle no one asked her to fight. Did you enjoy hiding while the entire village discussed your fate? She taunted.
Farid's jaw tightened.
Move, Syra. Oh, I see, she sneered. Going to the doctor again? Trying another miracle cure? Another pointless hope. Amara clenched her fingers around the edge of her japata, but she forced herself to remain silent. Let me save you the trouble, Syra continued loudly, making sure neighbors heard.
There is no cure for being barren. It is what it is.
Everyone knows.
Syra, Farid snapped.
Enough.
But Syra wasn't done.
She leaned forward, her voice dripping with venom. Last night, the elders said if you refuse to remarry, they will declare it publicly, that Amara is cursed and that your family name will suffer because of her.
That was it.
Amara lifted her eyes, and her voice came out calm, but strong.
Syra, she said quietly, you speak a lot about curses.
But tell me, when did God give you the right to judge?
Syra blinked, taken aback.
Amara held her gaze, surprising even herself.
A woman without children is still a woman. Still a wife. Still a human being. Don't forget that.
For the first time, Syra didn't have a comeback. Her eyes flickered in confusion, anger, and something close to disbelief, because Amara had never spoken back before. Farid took Amara's hand firmly and guided her to the motorcycle. We don't have time for useless talk. Syra stepped aside, fuming, her lips trembling with rage.
Go then. Run to the doctor. But don't say I didn't warn you.
Farid ignored her and helped Amara climb onto the motorcycle. As they sped down the dusty road toward the town hospital, Amara felt the cool morning breeze hit her face.
Villagers stared. Some whispered. Some smirked.
But she held her stomach tightly, whispering a silent prayer. Please, whatever this is, let it be real. The doctor's clinic was crowded, as usual. Mothers with babies, elderly men coughing into handkerchiefs, children with scraped knees. Everyone waited under the whirring ceiling fan. But when Amara and Farid walked in, heads turned.
Women nudged each other.
That's her, someone whispered. The barren one. I heard her husband is being forced to remarry. Poor thing, she should let him go.
It's her fault anyway.
Amara's face burned, but she kept her head high. When the nurse called her in, Farid went with her. Dr. Shahzadi, a middle-aged woman with glasses and kind eyes, greeted them. Amara, what brings you here today? She asked, flipping through her old medical file. It's been 6 months since your last visit. Yes, Amara whispered. But something happened last night.
Farid cleared his throat.
She felt movement. The doctor paused, her expression shifting from routine politeness to startled confusion. Movement, she repeated slowly. What kind of movement?
Amara placed a hand on her stomach.
Like a flutter. And then again, and again. I thought I was imagining it at first, but...
Dr. Shahzadi stood up quickly. Lie down.
We'll check immediately.
Farid helped Amara onto the examination bed.
The doctor dimmed the lights slightly and began the ultrasound procedure. The machine hummed softly, the screen flickering to life.
Amara's heart pounded wildly. Farid held her hand.
For several long seconds, Dr. Shahzadi moved the probe across Amara's stomach in silence, her brows furrowing deeper and deeper. Her eyes widened slightly.
She leaned closer to the monitor. Farid tense beside Amara.
Doctor, what is it?
Still no response. The room grew unbearably quiet.
Finally, after what felt like hours, Dr. Shahzadi exhaled slowly.
Her voice trembled when she spoke.
Amara, Farid, this is unbelievable.
Amara's breath caught in her throat.
What? What do you see? The doctor lifted her glasses slightly, as if trying to convince herself she wasn't seeing things. There is a baby, she whispered softly. A healthy baby. Amara's entire body went numb.
Farid's grip on her hand tightened.
Amara's lips trembled. A baby? Yes, the doctor said, her voice thick with awe. You are pregnant.
Amara burst into tears instantly. She covered her mouth with both hands as sobs shook her shoulders.
Farid bent over her, pressing his forehead against hers, laughing and crying at the same time. But how? He asked through tears. 10 years of nothing, and now?
Dr. Shahzadi nodded slowly. Miracles happen when they are meant to. I cannot explain this medically. All your previous reports suggested extremely low chances. But here, she turned the screen toward them.
Here is your baby. The image was small, blurry, yet unmistakably alive. A tiny heartbeat flickered on the monitor, fast, strong, rhythmic. Amara sobbed harder, reaching for the screen as if she could touch the tiny miracle growing inside her. Farid kissed her forehead, his tears dripping onto her cheeks.
You're not barren, he whispered fiercely.
You were never barren.
The doctor smiled. This is truly rare.
We'll run more tests, but from what I can see, everything looks normal and healthy. Amara lay back, tears streaming down her temples, staring up at the ceiling in disbelief. Everything she had endured,
every insult, every sleepless night,
every prayer whispered in darkness,
it all led to this moment.
When they left the clinic, the results in her trembling hands, Amara felt like she was floating. Farid walked beside her, protectively, proudly, helping her step over puddles and guiding her to the motorcycle as though she were made of glass.
The moment they stepped outside, word spread like wildfire.
Amara went to the doctor. She got tests done. Something is happening. Whispers chased their every step, but this time, Amara didn't lower her eyes. She placed a hand on her belly, warm, protective, proud. As they rode back to the village, the wind whipped through their clothes, and Farid kept looking back at her every few seconds, as if making sure she was still real, still there, still carrying the miracle that changed everything. By the time they reached the village entrance, people were already gathering, rushing toward them, curious and intrusive.
Farid slowed the motorcycle.
Amara could see Syra standing at the front of the crowd, smirking confidently, assuming the doctor had once again confirmed what she always believed.
What happened?
Someone shouted. What did the doctor say?
Is she sick?
Is it hopeless again? Amara stepped off the motorcycle slowly, her hand still over her stomach.
Farid walked to her side.
The crowd pressed closer. Syra crossed her arms, tilting her head.
Well, what's the result this time?
Another disappointment. Amara looked at her, steady and silent.
Farid cleared his throat loudly.
And then, in a voice that echoed through the entire gathering, he said, My wife is pregnant. A wave of gasps swept through the crowd.
Women covered their mouths. Men stepped back.
Some blinked rapidly, thinking they misheard. Syra stumbled as if someone had shoved her. What? That's not possible. Farid placed a protective arm around Amara. The doctor confirmed it. Amara lifted the clinic report in her hand, her fingers trembling. It's true. The silence that followed was electric, charged, heavy, unbelievable.
Syra shook her head violently. Lies. She's faking it. She always wanted sympathy.
Farid pulled the ultrasound printout from his pocket and held it up.
Here. Look. There is no lie. There is a baby.
Our baby.
Women pushed forward to see.
Men leaned closer. Elderly ladies squinted at the small black and white image. The truth hit them like thunder. Amora, the woman they mocked, the woman they humiliated, the woman they called cursed, was carrying life. A miracle. The crowd erupted in chaotic murmurs, shock, disbelief, embarrassment, shame. But over all the noise, one thing was finally clear. Amora was no longer the barren woman of Shadipur. She was the woman carrying a miracle the entire village never saw coming. The village had not been this noisy in years. Even before dawn, people were whispering outside their homes, trying to understand what exactly had happened on that unforgettable morning. Some claimed they saw a glowing light above Meher's roof. Others swore they heard a baby cry in the distance. A few insisted that an angel had descended in the form of an old woman. Rumors flew like birds with broken wings, confusing, frantic, impossible to catch. But inside Meher's small house, everything was still. She sat by the window, her hands trembling as she held the folded paper the old woman had given her just before disappearing. Her heart had not stopped racing since the event. The mysterious visitor, her touch, the words she spoke, the warmth that spread through Meher's body.
It all felt unreal. But the paper in her hands was real. The truth on it was real. And what that truth meant for her life, that was about to shake the entire village. Amir walked back and forth across the small room, his hair messy and eyes red from the shock of what he had witnessed. Meher, please tell me again. Who was she? Where did she come from? What did she mean when she said your pain would end?
Meher closed her eyes, trying to steady her breath.
I don't know, Amir. She said she was only a traveler, but I don't believe that. The moment she touched me, everything changed. Something inside me felt alive. Amir stopped pacing and knelt beside her.
What's written on that paper? Please show me.
She swallowed hard and slowly handed it to him.
He opened it carefully, as if the slightest movement might make the message disappear.
His eyes widened, then widened more.
He looked at Meher, stunned. Meher, this says.
Before he could finish, someone banged loudly on their door. Bang, bang, bang. Open up, a familiar voice shouted.
We know something happened last night.
It was Farida, Amir's aunt, the same aunt who had mocked Meher for years. Meher's shoulders sank.
Of all people, why her now? Amir clenched his jaw. I'll handle it. But before he could walk to the door, Farida pushed it open and barged inside without permission, followed by several neighbors. They looked around suspiciously, as if expecting to see smoke, spirits, or some proof of sorcery. Farida crossed her arms. I heard strange noises from your house.
And someone said a light was shining from your roof.
What are you two hiding?
Another neighbor stepped forward.
Yes, we all saw it.
Something happened here.
Don't lie to us.
Meher remained silent.
Amir stood tall, trying to maintain composure.
Nothing happened.
We were just lies.
Farida snapped. Don't think we don't know what you're up to.
People said they saw an old woman entering your house late at night.
Who was she? A healer?
A witch?
A fortune teller?
Are you trying some tricks because you still cannot? Enough.
Amir's voice shook with anger.
Everyone froze.
Farida narrowed her eyes.
Why are you defending her so strongly? You've changed ever since that strange light. Another man said, Show us your house. We want to see if something is hidden.
Meher finally looked up. Why are you doing this? Why do you all want to hurt me again?
Haven't I suffered enough?
Farida scoffed.
Suffered?
Suffering is having a daughter-in-law who gives no children.
Suffering is having neighbors laugh at my family name because of you. Amir stepped forward, furious.
She has done nothing wrong.
She has been insulted, mocked, humiliated, and still she treated all of you with kindness. What more do you want from her?
The room fell silent. But the silence did not last long.
Farida walked toward Meher, staring at her suspiciously. If nothing happened, then why are you two acting so nervous? She tried to snatch the folded paper from Meher's lap. Amay grabbed her wrist.
How dare you?
She pulled her hand back dramatically and shouted outside. See? They are hiding something.
More villagers gathered at the door.
The small house now felt suffocating, the walls closing in, tension filling the air like smoke from a burning fire.
Finally, Meher stood up.
Her voice was soft, but steady. If you all want to know the truth, then listen carefully. Everyone leaned closer.
Amay looked at her, surprised. She took a deep breath.
Last night, someone came to me.
I don't know who she was, but she said she knew about my pain.
She said she had come with a message and a blessing. The neighbors murmured nervously.
A blessing, someone whispered. Farida rolled her eyes. Here we go again. Blessings. Magic. Stories. Meher ignored her.
I don't understand it fully yet, she continued. But she told me that my life was about to change. That something I had been praying for, something I had silently longed for, was finally coming.
A gasp echoed around the room. Farida frowned deeply.
What are you trying to say? Meher gently placed a hand over her stomach, unconsciously, naturally, without thinking.
The crowd noticed. Their eyes widened.
Farida's face drained of color.
No, she whispered.
That's not possible.
One woman covered her mouth in shock. Is she?
Amir stepped forward, tears forming in his eyes. Yes.
He took the folded paper from his pocket and held it high.
It's a medical confirmation, he said, voice shaking with emotion.
We didn't know until now.
The old woman gave this to us, and it's from a hospital in the city.
We checked the date. We checked everything.
It says that Meher is pregnant, Meher finished softly.
The words seemed to freeze the entire planet. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the birds outside stopped singing.
Farida stumbled backward, her face twisted in disbelief. No, this cannot be. This woman, this barren woman, she, pregnant.
Yes, Meher said calmly. No.
No, no, no.
Farida screamed. You're lying. This is a trick.
She probably forged the paper.
Amay shook his head.
The paper has a real hospital's stamp and doctor's signature. And Meher, she felt something last night.
Something real. Something we cannot explain.
Farida's voice broke as she whispered. But she could not have children.
Everyone knew that.
Everyone said that I was barren.
Meher replied quietly.
That I was cursed? That God had closed my fate forever.
Farida's lips trembled.
Meher continued, her voice gaining strength.
4 years, you all judged me. You mocked me. You insulted my womanhood. You made me feel less than human.
But today, look at what destiny has done. Tears slipped down her cheeks, not of sorrow, but relief.
Joy.
Vindication.
The villagers stared at her in awe. Some were shocked. Some were ashamed.
Some were afraid, wondering if they had wronged someone who might have been blessed by a power greater than all of them. Farida suddenly dropped to the floor, sitting as if her legs had given out.
How can this be? She whispered, stunned.
Meher walked toward her slowly, gently. Sometimes, the things we believe impossible are the things meant to humble us.
A deep silence spread through the room.
Farida looked up at her, eyes filled with regret, confusion, and fear all at once.
I didn't mean to hurt you. I just...
Yes, Meher interrupted softly.
You did mean to hurt me.
But that no longer matters now. Amir placed a protective arm around his wife, pride glowing on his face.
Someone from the crowd finally spoke with trembling awe.
This is a miracle. Another whispered, maybe that old woman wasn't just anyone. A man added, maybe God tested her patience.
And she passed.
Farida covered her face with her shawl and began sobbing loudly. Meher reached forward and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder.
Don't cry. I don't want revenge.
I only wanted a chance to live with dignity.
Farida lowered her shawl,
her face streaked with tears.
How did this happen?
After so many years, how?
Meher smiled softly.
Everything has its time. The villagers began leaving one by one, whispering among themselves, their voices filled with wonder.
Some apologized. Some offered blessings.
Some simply stared at Meher, unable to believe what they had witnessed. When the house finally emptied, Amir hugged Meher, lifting her gently off her feet. "Do you understand what this means?" he whispered emotionally. "Our prayers, our years of waiting, our love, all of it has finally been blessed."
Meher rested her head on his chest.
"I still feel like I'm dreaming." "It's real," he assured her. "Every part of it is real."
But he was wrong. Not every part. Because something else had changed that night. Something no one had discovered yet. Something that would soon reveal the entire truth.
Something that would shake the village even more than the pregnancy itself. As the sun climbed higher and its golden light filled the room, Meher gently touched her stomach again.
And for the first time in her life, she felt something move. Something alive. Something growing. Something meant to change everything. She gasped. Amay turned quickly.
"What happened?" She smiled through tears. "I felt life." And that was only the beginning. The news of Meher's pregnancy spread across the village faster than wildfire. By noon, every street corner buzzed with whispers. Women huddled near the well, men paused their work in the fields, and children ran around repeating fragments of conversation they overheard.
"Did you hear?
Meher, pregnant after all these years."
"I always knew she was kind-hearted."
God must have finally answered her. Or maybe that old woman wasn't ordinary. Maybe she was sent. Maybe it was fate. By evening, the entire village felt different. Quieter, softer, almost humbled. The people who once mocked Meher now found themselves afraid to even say her name too loudly, as if the wind would carry their words to her and judge them. Inside her home, Meher moved slowly, still trying to understand the enormity of what was happening.
Amir had not left her side all day.
Every time she touched her belly, his eyes filled with emotion. Every time she smiled, he looked like he was witnessing a miracle. But beneath the joy, there was something else inside her heart.
A question.
A feeling that the old woman had not told her everything. And the truth, the full truth, was still hiding. The night approached gently as if afraid to disturb them. Lamps glowed along the mud streets, casting golden halos. Meher stepped outside to breathe fresh air, standing beneath the sky sprinkled with stars. She placed a hand on her stomach and whispered, "Thank you, whoever you are."
Footsteps approached behind her. Amir wrapped his shawl around her shoulders. "It's cold."
"You shouldn't be out too long." She leaned against him, sighing softly. "Everything feels so unreal."
He rested his hand over hers.
"Unreal, but beautiful." She smiled. "Amay, do you think she'll come back?"
The question surprised him. "Who?"
"The old woman."
He inhaled sharply.
"I don't know, Meher, but if she does, I won't let her leave without telling us who she really was."
Meher giggled softly.
"I don't think we could stop her, even if we tried."
And she was right.
Far away, hidden in the shadows between two houses, someone was watching them.
Someone who had been waiting for this moment.
Someone who knew the truth. The next morning, just as the sun peeked over the fields, a loud knock echoed through the house. Amay rushed to open it, expecting villagers with their endless questions. But it wasn't a villager. It was a man dressed in formal clothes, polished shoes, crisp shirt, a leather satchel hanging from his shoulder. His face was tired, worried, and strangely hopeful.
"Are you Amir Hussein?" the man asked urgently.
"Yes, may I help you?" "And this is the home of Meher Hussein?"
Amir nodded slowly.
"Yes, but who are you?"
The man swallowed hard. "My name is Dr. Rayyan Malik."
"I'm a physician from the city hospital." Shock ran through Amir's body like electricity. Meher walked closer, her heart beating fast.
"A doctor?"
"From the city." Dr. Rayyan looked at her with a strange intensity, almost fear mixed with reverence.
Madam,
I've been searching for you for 2 days.
What? Why?
Meher stepped back, confused. The doctor opened his satchel and took out another paper, one identical to the paper the old woman had given her. I came here to deliver this result personally, he said. The woman who collected it, the old lady, she disappeared before I could explain anything. Amir and Meher exchanged stunned glances. The doctor continued, his voice trembling slightly. This isn't just a confirmation of pregnancy, it is something far more unusual. Something I have never seen in my medical career.
Meher's breath caught in her throat.
What do you mean?
He handed her the new paper. Her fingers shook as she unfolded it.
For a few seconds, she didn't understand what she was seeing.
Then her lips parted. Her eyes widened. Her knees weakened. Amir grabbed her arm.
Meher, what is it? What does it say?
She couldn't speak. Her lips trembled. Finally, Dr. Rayyan answered for her.
Meher is not just pregnant, he said. She is carrying twins.
Amir's mouth fell open.
Twins.
The doctor nodded firmly. Yes.
And there's more.
Meher's eyes filled with tears.
More.
The doctor exhaled shakily. The scan shows something extremely rare.
The twins share no genetic link to any form of infertility. There is no medical explanation for how this pregnancy occurred. In fact, the results suggest her reproductive system healed suddenly, completely, overnight.
Meher felt dizzy. Overnight. Just like when the old woman touched her.
The doctor continued, cases like this are undocumented.
Impossible. It's as if something intervened. Meher and Amir stared at him in stunned silence. He lowered his voice.
To be honest, I did not believe the results myself.
I ran them twice. Then a third time.
They are accurate.
Amir's voice cracked.
You mean, after years of being told she could never have children? Yes, the doctor said with a faint smile. She is now expecting 2. Meher burst into tears, tears of joy, confusion, and overwhelming relief. Amir wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly.
But the doctor wasn't done. He hesitated, looking at both of them cautiously.
There is one more thing I must say.
They looked at him anxiously.
This pregnancy, it is progressing faster than normal.
Much faster.
As if her body is preparing itself at an extraordinary pace.
Meher wiped her tears.
Is that dangerous?
No, he replied. Actually, the opposite.
She appears healthier than any pregnant woman I have examined. It's like her body was waiting for this moment.
Meher felt warmth spreading through her chest.
The old woman's words echoed in her mind. Your time of tears is over.
The doctor stepped back respectfully.
I don't know who that old woman was, but if she told you something, anything, please take it seriously. Because medically speaking, this is a miracle. With that, he nodded, gave them his card, and left. Amir closed the door and turned to Meher, stunned beyond words. Twins. Twins. Meher laughed and cried at the same time, leaning into his arms.
But just then, a soft wind blew through the house. The same warm wind she had felt that night. She froze. Amir looked around. Did you feel that?
Before she could answer, a shadow appeared in the doorway. Slowly, gracefully, the old woman stepped inside.
As though she had never left. As though she had been waiting for her moment. Meher gasped. You? Amir stood protectively in front of Meher. Who are you?
How did you enter our house?
The old woman smiled gently. I told you.
I am only a traveler. No, Meher whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks.
You're more than that.
The old woman stepped closer and touched Meher's head softly. Child, the world mocked you.
Your loved ones doubted you.
But patience like yours is rare. Strength like yours is blessed.
Who are you?
Meher repeated, her voice cracking.
The old woman looked into her eyes.
And her next words made the air go still. I am someone who was sent to return what was always meant to be yours.
Meher's breath trembled.
The old woman continued. Your heart stayed pure through years of cruelty.
Your kindness never broke.
God heard every silent prayer you cried into your pillow.
Every night you hid your tears. Every insult you swallowed.
Every time you chose forgiveness over anger.
Meher's knees weakened. Amir held her tightly. The old woman smiled.
Your womb wasn't empty. Your time simply hadn't come. Meher let out a sob, deep, broken, relieved. And now, the woman said, your destiny has awakened. Not with one blessing, but two.
Slowly, she turned toward the doorway.
But why me? Meher whispered through tears. Why bless me?
The woman paused.
Then she looked back with eyes that glowed like gentle fire.
Because humility is rare,
and God raises those who are stepped on. Meher fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Amir knelt beside her, holding her as she cried.
When she looked up, the old woman was gone. Disappeared.
Vanished without a sound.
Only the warm breeze remained. Days passed.
Then weeks.
The entire village changed. People who once mocked her now apologized with lowered heads.
Farida visited with trembling hands, crying.
Please forgive me, Meher. I was blind. I hurt you.
I am ashamed. And Meher, being Meher, forgave her. Because her heart had always been bigger than their cruelty. Months later, the sound of joy filled the small village. Meher gave birth to two healthy, beautiful children, a boy and a girl. The entire village gathered outside the house, waiting to see the miracle babies. Farida held both children in her shaking hands, crying harder than anyone else.
I mocked you.
I hurt you, but God still blessed our family because of your goodness.
And Meher?
She just smiled softly, her heart full. She looked out the window, half hoping to see a familiar old woman standing in the distance.
But she didn't. Still, she knew. She felt it. Somewhere, somehow.
The blessing bringer was watching.
Proud of her. Proud of how she endured.
Proud of how destiny finally bowed in her favor.
Her life had transformed.
Her sorrow had become her victory. Her humiliation had become her miracle. And the village? They would never forget the day the Barren woman became a mother of twins. The day patience defeated cruelty. The day a miracle walked among them. And so, dear listeners, this is where our story comes to a close. A story of patience, faith, and a woman whose heart remained gentle even when the world around her turned cruel. Meher's journey reminds us that no matter how heavy our struggles feel, no matter how many voices try to break us, destiny has a strange way of protecting what is meant for us. The same people who once laughed at her, now speak her name with respect. The same lips that mocked her, now bless her children. And the same woman who once cried alone at night, now wakes up each day to the sound of tiny heartbeats she once believed she would never hear. Life can change in a moment. Miracles often come when the world least expects them. And sometimes, those who suffer the longest, rise the highest. If Meher's story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you to never lose hope, then don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe for more stories that warm the soul. Until next time, take care of your heart, keep your faith alive, and remember, what's written for you will never miss you.